my name is Bryn. Welcome or welcome back to my channel. If you're new, welcome. I'm so glad you're here. If you're not new, welcome back. And in today's video, I have a really exciting video. I haven't sat down and talked about books in a really long time. We are finally talking about books. I have been so excited for this video. This is the first chance I'm getting to sit down and kind of talk with you guys and talk about the books that I bought while I was on semester at sea and the books that I read while I was on semester at sea. So this video will kind of be divided into like two different parts. I'm first going to talk about the books that I read while I was on semester at sea, and then towards the end I'll show you guys the books that I bought while I was abroad, and I can't wait to add to my TBR. That's basically it. So without further ado, let's just get into the video. I'm gonna try and go in order for you guys. So I have my Goodreads open here, and if you're not following me on Goodreads, you should. I post all of the books that I'm reading, live updates about what page I'm on and what I'm currently reading. So if you're not following me, you should go follow me on Goodreads. The link I believe is in the description box. Now, when I was abroad, I actually did all of my reading, or almost all of my reading, on my Kindle. So I don't have all of the physical copies of the books that I did read while I was on semester at sea. I do have two of them here. I did most of my reading on my Kindle, so I don't have the physical copies for you, but I'll definitely put a picture on the screen of the book that I'm talking about if I can't hold it up. Luckily though, the first book that I read while I was on semester at sea, I do actually have a physical copy of, and that is Just for the Summer by Abby Jimenez. This was my first Abby Jimenez book, and let me tell you, this will most definitely not be the least. I'm actually reading yours truly right now. This was the first book I read when I was abroad, and it's also my first Abby Jimenez book. I didn't realize when I read this that this was actually a part of like an intertwined standalone series, but I do want to do a reread of all of the books. I'm reading yours truly right now. After I'm done, I'd like to read all three of the books in order to kind of see how they play out, but this was the first one that I read. I rated this 5 stars. What a great start to the year. This was the first book I read this year. I have no idea when I read it. I think I read it in like January or February. You're following Emma, and then she meets a guy named Justin, and these are the two characters you're kind of following throughout the book. I believe Emma is a travel nurse. And don't ask me what Justin does. I read this book so long ago, I literally don't remember anything. But I do remember absolutely loving this book. I was like kicking my feet. I loved it so much. I rated it 5 stars. I think I would rate it 5 stars again if I read it over. I do think that the environment that I was in might have affected the way I've rated all of these books while I was gone. If I did reread this, I think I would give it 5 stars again. I loved this book so much. I feel like I don't really remember any of the details because when I did read this, I was living on a ship in the middle of the ocean. A lot of it was kind of like a blur. Like that time of my life, I like have a hard time like remembering all of the memories because I feel like it was just a blur. But anyways, I loved this one. I gave it 5 stars. It looks like it's about to downpour outside, so if the lighting keeps changing, my apologies, but we're gonna do a full 180 from this very cute romance to a psychological thriller. The next book I read was actually Ward D by Freida McFadden. I believe I read this one in around February or March. This one, again, I read on my very lovely Kindle. I read this one in like almost a full sitting. Loved this one so much. I also rated this one 5 stars. This is definitely in the running for like top Freida McFadden book for me. I absolutely loved this one. So you're following medical student Amy, and she does not want to work in the psych unit, and she ends up getting scheduled there for the overnight shift, and there's a lot of things that happen. You're constantly like questioning things, and like it just was so good. My Goodreads says I read it on February 7th, August 21st now, quite a little bit ago. I'd love to also do a reading vlog of reading Freida McFadden books for a week. She's one of my favorite authors, so let me know if you guys would want to see that video. I've actually read a lot of her books. I have like almost a whole shelf up there dedicated to Freida McFadden, and I'm gonna be redoing my bookshelf sometime soon. If you want to see it, you should subscribe and stick around because I'm gonna have lots of bookish content coming up. But anyways, back to Ward D. This book had me like in every sort of direction, and like it kept switching the chokehold it had on me. Like, I still think about this book all the time. I loved it. I gave it 5 stars. I definitely think I would rate it 5 stars again. If you love a book that like constantly has you asking yourself questions, this is definitely the read for you. The plot twist was insane and I loved it. Again, 5 stars. I would absolutely recommend this book to anybody who loves Freddie McFadden or loves psychological thrillers. I do have the physical copy of the next book, and that is 1,000 Boy Kisses by Tilly Cole. Don't know if it was the environment that I was reading. I was on semester at sea. I was having the literal time of my life. My friends and I had a mini book club. We would go and we'd sit and we'd read together. I just have to tell you, I don't know if it was the environment or I genuinely was just picking really great books to read, but I also gave this one 5 stars. This might be one of the saddest books I've ever read in my life. I read A Little Life and that one takes the cake, but this one made me sob like I did while reading A Little Life. If you are looking for a sad book, this is the one. We have Poppy. Poppy's our main character in this book, and then we also have Rune. The 2 of them are just so cute. They fall in love and it's kind of about their journey together. I don't think this is a spoiler because it happens within the first couple pages. Poppy's grandma literally is like passing away within the first couple pages of this book, and it already had me sobbing. I should have known that this book was just gonna be so sad after literally sobbing on like the first couple pages of this book. I remember sitting at the pool. I was in the pool on the MV World Odyssey and my friends were calling me a ship kid, and I was just reading this and I was like fighting tears. My professor was in the pool and she was like, "Oh, what you reading over there?" And I was like, "Oh, it's called 1,000 Boy Kisses." And she was like, "Oh, is it good?" And I was like, "No." I mean, yes, it was good, but it was so sad. I love this one. I could talk about this forever. Anytime my friends ask me for a sad book, I recommend this. This is the one. I read this also in like 1 or 2 sittings. Loved it. Definitely would rate it 5 stars again. 3 5-star books in a row was crazy for me. It was so sad, but I loved it so much. The next book I read was actually the book that came after 1,000 Boy Kisses because I just loved it so much and I wasn't ready to let go of this world yet. Thankfully, the second book was already out. It's called 1,000 Broken Pieces, and I immediately started it after I finished this one because I just needed more. I needed more. I wasn't ready to accept how the book ended. I needed more. I can't talk about this book as much because, like I said, this is the second book to this book, so kind of hard to explain what it's about without spoiling the first book. It just started downpouring. Very on brand for talking about these really sad books right now. I rated this one 5 stars. I'm not sure if I would rate it 5 stars again, only because I'm having a little bit of a hard time. Actually, I was gonna say that I don't really remember what it was about, but as I was going to say that, like all of it came flooding back into my brain and I'm like, oh, I would absolutely rate this 5 stars again. This book got me really, really good. It was amazing. I feel like I can say this without it spoiling. In this book, you're following Savannah. The whole book is about her and her journey. The rain outside is really fitting the vibe for these 2 sad books right now. I rated this 5 stars as well. It got really dark outside. Should I move the camera? Would it be better if I move? Whoa. Did y'all see and hear that? Oh my gosh, wait, this is cute. Is this background better? The books in the background is so cute. And I also see this giant cart filled with random stuff. I'm gonna turn this into a TBR cart, and I'm gonna do that when I organize my bookshelf. Y'all will have to stick around for that. I hope this lighting is like a little bit better. The next book that I read was another Abby Jimenez book, and it was Part of Your World. I do not have the physical copy of this. This one was so good. I think I like this one a little bit more than Just for the Summer. Once again, I gave this book 5 stars, and you guys can tell me if it was the environment I was in or if I was just genuinely picking like the world's best books in a row. I seriously don't think I will ever in my life beat 6 5-star books in a row. That's like unheard of. Why wasn't I filming a like how many 5 stars can I find in one video type of reading vlog? That would have been it. I do need to get a physical copy of this book, and I've seen people actually find them at Marshall's, so I want to go to Marshall's and see if I can find one. This is the only book that I don't have from the little intertwined trilogy that's going on here. And I didn't know that this was like an intertwined trilogy until I was reading Part of Your World book, and I noticed some of the characters were the same as her other book, and I had to do a Google search. I was like, wait, are these intertwined? Did I read the wrong book first? Okay, after refreshing myself from Goodreads, I definitely remember reading this one and loving this one more than Just for the Summer. I still would rate them both 5 stars. Abby Jimenez's writing is so unique. I don't even know how to describe it. I love it. It keeps me entertained. It keeps me drawn in. I love her so much. Abby Jimenez is probably one of my favorite authors at the moment. She's definitely up there with like Frida McFadden. This book, you're following Alexis meets a guy named Daniel, and these are the 2 characters that you're following throughout the story. Yeah, I loved this one. Again, I gave it 5 stars. I genuinely think I just picked a bunch of good books to read. Whatever I could find on Kindle Unlimited that I've seen on TikTok, I was like, okay, I'll read that. And then I ended up with like 5 or 6 5-star books in a row. Highly recommend doing that if you've never done that before. The next book I read, I do have the physical copy of, and this is Atomic Habits. I feel like I'm cheating a little bit because I did buy this while I was abroad, but I also read it. It's kind of a little bit of the best of both worlds here. I feel like I read this at like the perfect time. I was at the point in the voyage where I like needed a change. I've like lost all of my habits, and like I really needed some sort of good change to bring some habits back. I was feeling very inspired by my psychology professor. Bought this book while I was in India, and I read it. The amount of highlights I have in this book. We've got purple highlights. I have a bunch of purple highlights in the book. My little Penang, Georgetown, Malaysia bookmark is just sitting in the middle of it. Can't remember if I read the entire thing or if I read most of it and then didn't finish the last bit. But either way, this book was amazing. I'm not gonna rate it because it's like a self-help book, and I think if you need it, it'll hit you hard, and if you don't, it won't. It's really just a preference, but I think I read this at the most perfect time. This book really helped me while I was abroad. I would go to breakfast every morning by myself, and I would... Damn, it's really raining out there. I would go to breakfast by myself every morning at like 7:30. I would go and sit before my 8 a.m. class. I would bring this book with me. I would sit there and I would read it, and I would highlight as I went. It was just a very nice like routine and habit I was building to like spend time with myself and be okay with going and eating a meal by myself, which is something I would have never done before I went on semester at sea. I feel like this book really had a role in me changing for the better as a person. I would really recommend it if you are looking for a book that will help you with making good choices with your habits that you're building and are practicing. It was a really great read for the position I was in my life at this time. The next book I read was another Frida McFadden book, and this was her new release at the time. This is The Crash by Frida McFadden. As you can see, I do have like a little bit of a Frida McFadden shelf going up here. I don't know if you guys can see it with my little graduation hard-boiled egg jelly cat up there. In this book, you're following Tegan, who is very pregnant. She is about to have a baby like any day, and she is heading to a destination. She gets in her car and she starts driving. She doesn't realize that she's heading into this giant blizzard. I don't know. The title is called The Crash, so I feel like you can kind of assume that she didn't make it to her proper destination. So I'll tell you guys that much. If you want to know the rest, you're gonna have to read the book. This one was not my favorite Frida McFadden book. I feel like I've definitely read better ones, although I will say that this book did hold my attention from like beginning to end. I think after reading like 5 or 6 5-star books, this one just didn't hit the same. I think I gave this one 3 or 3.5 stars. But you know, I love Frida McFadden. I still need to go buy the physical copy of the book because I want to have every single one of her books and read every single one of her books. The collection literally goes from like here all the way over. I love my girl Frida McFadden, but this one was not my favorite. I found it just a little bit predictable, just a little bit. The plot twist was kind of crazy. Like throughout the book, I could kind of like see where it was going. That's my take on that. Overall, it was good. I would recommend it. Those were all the books that I read while I was on semester at sea, and now I'm gonna show you guys the books that I bought. Going to 10 different countries, I obviously had to bring some goodies home. Here's what I got. The first 2 books that I found were in a cute little bookstore in a mall in Malaysia. First book I picked up is Christina Lauren, The Paradise Problem. This book is actually wrapped. I haven't unwrapped it yet. I've been home for 4 months and sitting on my shelf. I read Love and Other Words by Christina Lauren and I loved that one. I thought it would be kind of fun to bring home a Christina Lauren book that had an international cover. The cover was really cute. I believe it's a UK cover even though I bought it in Malaysia. I don't know if you can see, but at the bottom there's a sticker that says second at 50% off. So I picked up this book and, you know, seeing that sticker, I had to get another one. So I picked up this one for 50% off. This is the Cinnamon Bun Bookstore. I had never seen this book before when I found it at the bookstore and I thought it was so cute. I don't know if you can see it, but there's a little sticker at the bottom down here that has a 4 out of 5 spice rating. Thought that the cover was so cute. I definitely bought it because of the cover. The cover of this book is so cute. It's like a cute little bookstore. It says the Cinnamon Bun Bookstore, all it takes is a little bit of sugar and spice, and it's giving fall. I feel like I would literally read this book with this weather condition right now. The thunder, the rain, it's giving fall. Someone in my TikTok comments very graciously told me that this is actually the second book in a series. The first book is called The Pumpkin Spice Cafe, and then the third book is called The Christmas Tree Farm. So I definitely am gonna get my hands on those 2 books. I definitely need to read the pumpkin one before I read this one. Around like the fall time, I'll definitely read this in a reading vlog because I've been really looking forward to reading this. These are the 2 books that I bought while I was in Malaysia. I thought I was gonna have a little bit of self-control and those were gonna be the only 2 books that I was gonna come home with. But then I went to India and we found like the most beautiful bookstore and I actually got 2 more books while I was there. The first one being Atomic Habits. I already mentioned this. I have been wanting to read this for a while and the US copy is like almost $20 and I wasn't paying that for the hardcover book. So when I found this in India for like $10 US, I immediately picked it up and like I said, it like changed my life for the better. We're just gonna let Mother Nature feel her feelings for a second. The other book that I got while I was in India is Funny Story by Emily Henry. This was one of the only Emily Henry books that I actually didn't have on my shelf. The only one that I have read so far is Happy Place. This one, I loved the cover. I thought it was so cool. Emily Henry has some really great international covers. This is the one I ended up getting because I couldn't lug home all of them. At least got one that I didn't already have on my shelf, and that was Funny Story. Here are some of the other international covers that she has. And they are so cute. I definitely think that they are better than the US covers. And I wish I could have bought all of them while I was out there. I definitely bought this because of the cover. Other than that, I don't really know anything about it. If you've read this book, let me know what your thoughts were on it. These are almost all of the books that I read and bought while I was on semester at sea. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and if you did, make sure you give it a big thumbs up and comment down below if you've read any of these books. I'd love to know what your thoughts were on them. I'm gonna go snuggle up and read now because the weather, thunder, the rain, it's giving perfect reading weather. I hope you guys have the most beautiful day. I love you guys so much and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye!